Enforcement and spotters, tornado on the ground here very near Phil Campbell.
Absolute pure devastation here in Franklin County as a tornado ripped through this community around 3 o'clock this afternoon. You can see some of the devastation here. Limbs and trees falling in what used to be people's houses, people's lots and businesses here. A lot of heirlooms and all kinds of stuff trapped in this rubble. We have confirmed at least 2 people have perished in this tornado.
And how do I rebuild the life that we had, you know, with my family? God, give me wisdom on how to do that.
It was so vibrant, I couldn't look away. There were things that I saw that day that I will never, ever forget. We recording? We good? Mic check, 1, 2, 3. All right. Here we go. Hi, my name's Chris, and this is my story. One of my biggest passions in life is to share people's stories, whether it's the stories of the gospel or the stories of just what makes people tick, of who they are and what they are. For the longest time, I have suppressed my story because I felt like it wasn't worth telling. This year marks 10 years of the April 27th, 2011 tornadoes, where a EF5 tornado ripped through the little town of Phil Campbell, Alabama, where me and my sister and my parents were pastors there. I want to tell that story, and it's been told many times by my parents and by my sister, but no one's heard my story because I felt like I wasn't good enough to share the story. 10 years later, I want to do it. So. It was a Wednesday, 7:30 in the morning, getting ready to go to school, and we had a glass pane door in front of our wooden door in our house, and we opened the door, and there was a bird sitting in between the 2 doors, and the bird just goes crazy on the inside of the house, and so we're having to get that out of the house. We get on the bus that morning, go to school, and right off the bat, we are hit with the tornado warning, tornado watch, and we're in the hallway, and I'm 14 at the time, I'm a freshman in high school. I didn't take it seriously. No one took it seriously because you only heard about these things in movies and in books, and you never expect it to happen to you. About halfway through the day, 3rd or 4th period, we find out that it was going to be a half day because of severe weather, and we go home in 5th period after 5th period. It's weird, like the things that I remember and don't remember. I remember the way the bus smelt on the way home. I remember the row I sat on, the route that Miss Mary Ann took on the way home. About 2:45, it starts raining really hard, and all afternoon since we've been home, my sister keeps nagging at us to go to the storm shelter. We probably cared, but not like it wasn't. She just kept talking about it, and at one point I was like, I remember telling her, Danielle, shut up, we're not going to the storm shelter. Like 3:15, 3:20, me and my dad and my mom walk out into our little front porch area, and I remember it being so beautiful that I didn't want to look away. People talk about how the sky is like green and it's like a dark color, and while that is true, yes, what I saw a very vibrant, very, very, very vibrant color of purple. It was so vibrant, I couldn't look away. It's like 3:30, 3:33 in the afternoon. It started rotating above us, and about the time a transformer in front of our house on a power pole, it exploded, and we were like, oh, we probably should get inside. And immediately I wanted to look at it again, so I ran to the back of our house, which we had a floor-to-ceiling double glass paned sliding glass door that goes out to our back porch, and I couldn't look away. And about that time, both of the doors were just bowing in and out, and at that point I was like, okay, something is happening, something big is happening.
Campbell 3 to 911. I got rotation coming through Phil Campbell right now.
And about that time, it hit, and we didn't know what it was, but we just know that it was there. A wall fell on top of us. It kind of created like a little shelter, lean-to type deal. On one side to cover it was the closet door, and the refrigerator slid over and covered this side. And then the wall that fell on top of my dad and I caught on a shelf that my mom had created. I come from a long line of pastors and worship pastors and evangelists and ministers. And so my mom had built a shelf. And so she called it her prayer shelf. And so the wall that fell on top of my dad and I, because we were covering my sister and my mom, the wall that fell on top of us was caught by that prayer shelf. And I firmly believe that if that wall had not caught on the prayer shelf, we would have been smushed to death. Luckily, we walked away with no cuts, no bruises, no broken bones. After the first half, the front half hit, my dad and I pushed up the wall. I look up and it's gorgeous. Like, skies are blue, there's no clouds in the sky, there's no wind blowing, there's no wind howling, there's no rain. And we later realized that we were in the eye of the storm. And I look back and I remember yelling, "Hey Dad, there's a second one coming." And so we pulled the wall back on top of us. From one end to one end, the tornado was 1.5 miles wide. That was it. We were in the house when it hit. We lost everything. So immediately, Dad and I pushed the wall off again and heard screams and cries and went into action. At that point, we don't really care what's happening around us. We just were focusing on those screams and those cries, trying to get people help. There were things that I saw that day that I will never, ever forget. It was at that moment in my life that I had to become a 14-year-old man, not a boy. Very quickly, I realized that I was angry. I don't know if I was angry at God or if I was angry at my parents for putting us in this position, in this situation. But I was just angry. And that anger manifested itself into an identity crisis. It manifested itself into a porn addiction. It manifested itself into fighting with my parents. Every single day I'd come home from school or from work and we would just fight constantly. And it took me a long time, a very, very long time to realize that I was just angry. I just wanted to be Chris Burns. But I didn't know who Chris Burns was. I didn't know who I was. I had nothing. And so I was just angry. And all the while, we were just trying to find people and pick up things we had and doing what we could to survive at that point. The rest of the day is spent covered in rain, covered in mud, trying to pick up things, trying to get clothes and pick up things that we saw that weren't busted and weren't broken, and just trying to pick up what was left of our livelihood, just trying to find whatever we had left. That night, none of us slept. We tried to, we couldn't sleep with the stress and the anxiety, and it wasn't happening. So the next morning, the sun rises on that Thursday, and we went to Walmart and grabbed underwear, socks, and shirts, and got to work. Because if there's one thing that my dad wanted to do, is we had church on that slab that Sunday. So that's what we did. We found the altar that was all busted up and broken in half, and we parked the stage and cleaned it off as much as we could, pushed all the rubble off the slab, and we had church that Sunday. And I think that is one of the biggest church services I've ever been a part of in my entire life. There was only maybe 50 to 75 people there on the slab, but we had 4 or 5 different news crews out there. It was shown all over the world. And so that day, 3 days after the tornado, after we had lost everything, we made a decision as a family that we were no longer victims, that we were victors.
Today is not just a day of life as usual. It's a day that we celebrate life. We celebrate life today. Last Sunday was Easter, and we celebrated on the first day of the week a resurrection of our Lord Jesus Christ. And today we celebrate a resurrection of Phil Campbell, Alabama. We celebrate a resurrection of Hackleburg, Alabama, and East Franklin and Tuscaloosa and all the other places. We celebrate a resurrection from the rubble, from the destruction, and we celebrate that today.